our young people are looking at this and they're saying this is something that is right because the politicians, the leaders of our country, this is something that they do. So, Mr. Prime Minister, I would like for you to, first of all, apologize on the way you responded to the question. And secondly, allow me to finish, please. Allow me to finish, please.
See on this matter than I do. I am not here to create, and I make that point very seriously, because I am not here to create a system that is going to deprive Jamaicans of their freedom. And you know what else?
But the bill
I am not hiding from consultation. I am here facing the questions. Unlike most, I am facing the questions and answering them. And I will go to every church in Jamaica. I will go to every room, every house, and I will answer them.
Hello brothers and sisters, I hope you're all doing fine. Now I'm sharing this video from Jamaica. Now this video went viral because these youths were very upset with the way the government of Jamaica is working. They were complaining about the high crime rate, the high corruption in Jamaica, high unemployment rates, the high taxes, and bad government services. Now this was done at a meeting at the town hall where the Prime Minister was meeting these youths to get the views on how leadership should be done. Now, the Prime Minister was actually upset for being told the truth, and you can see how he's going hard on these youth. So let's watch this video, then have a very quick discussion at the end of it. Thank you so much.
Good night, everyone. My name is Daniel Thomas. I'm the president of the Love March Movement, which is a youth organization, and we have an initiative called Colorblind, which is where we encourage young people to be engaged in political and national matters with an unbiased eye, without political assignment or, alignment rather. Okay, so my issue that I would like to raise at this time is with respect to NIDS. All right? Now, I am not, and we are not, against a national ID. We see the benefit of it. There are great pros. It will fill gaps in the country. But we believe that in its current form, it poses significant issues for many Jamaicans, especially with the fact that there has not been, in my opinion, and many other Jamaicans, 60,000, I checked the petition this morning, 60,000 Jamaicans here and abroad who feel that there needs to be more consultation, ventilation of the issues, speaking about pros and cons. All right, both of them are important to our consultative process. So we're being told that we must enroll in NIDS, or in the next 3 years we'll be possibly fined a max of $100,000 and barred from government services and possibly private services as well. The only exception being where there's a threat to health or life or a state of national emergency. Now, I'm deeply concerned about this bill because of the impact on the country.
So Charles, you have given us 2 points in the bill that you'd like responded to.
Well, I can't go into all of them, but just to say, right now I qualify for NHT. Yes. In 3 years, I will somehow lose my qualification because, somebody can respond to the NHT point, of course.
You're sure about that?
Well, that is my understanding because it won't be a threat to my life or health.
This is where you're going to come to get all the answers. All right, so allow them to respond now. Thanks, Charles. Really appreciate it.
We have over 60,000 Jamaicans.
So Charles, so you have to allow them to respond.
Me?
Yeah,
I'm Thomas, sorry.
I'm so sorry, Thomas. My apologies.
Can I just finish
the
the
wrong
last
name.
2 lines here?
The last 2 lines?
Very quick.
2 points or lines?
2 lines. So my closing thought would be to withdraw the bill, allow for proper ventilation of the issues over a 3-month period even, town hall meetings and joint select committee where we can properly speak about the many issues that are in the bill. We're not against the bill, but we are for the country of Jamaica moving forward.
Thanks,
Well,
Thomas.
I tell you what,
Excellent.
Thomas,
Thomas, yes.
I'm very happy that we find common ground, being that we are both for the country moving forward. But I just wanted to know, can you now get your NHT benefit without providing identification? I just wanted to know. And the answer is no. No, you can't. Secondly, and let's be clear,
Hang on, Thomas, you don't get a second chance. So sorry, you already asked.
you've asked
It's
your question.
rhetorical.
No, you already
Oh,
asked.
it was
I'm
rhetorical.
sorry.
Okay, fine. Like many other things, it's rhetorical. Fine. Secondly, Thomas, do you know, how old are you, Thomas?
I am 26.
Do you know that this bill, this idea of creating a national registry, started from as early as 1970? And we have been discussing this national ID, morphed from having a birth certificate that's unique, starting with ID for voting, which by now, most Jamaicans who don't intend to vote, but who want some identification, decides that, well, we will take the voter ID, but we won't vote. I'll give my fingerprint for the voter ID, but I don't vote. There are 1.8 million Jamaicans who want an ID, and they give their fingerprint willingly, including some of the 60,000 who signed the petition, answering personal questions, providing personal information, and freely giving of their biometric. The government has that now. What's new? You talk about consultation and speaking about this bill. In 2002, this bill was brought to the Parliament of Jamaica by the then Minister of Health, John Jr. It was tabled in Parliament and a joint select committee was named. It sat and languished and nothing happened. In 2009, former Prime Minister Bruce Golding saw that the bill was there, nothing is happening with it, started a resurrection of it. In 2012, former Prime Minister Portia Simpson Miller took the bill, and her very statements, this is a very important thing and we are going to push it, and started the negotiation for a loan to do this with the IDB. It was good for them to start the conversation about a $64 billion loan, but now it is not good. You know what I reject? Do you know what I reject? I reject the view that somehow you have a higher moral authority on this matter than I do. I am not here to create, and I make that point very seriously, because I am not here to create a system that is going to deprive Jamaicans of their freedom. And you know what else?
But the bill
I
does.
am not hiding from consultation. I am here facing the questions. Unlike most, I am facing the questions and answering them. And I will go to every church in Jamaica. I will go to every room, every house, and I will answer them. Because I am not trying to take away anybody's right.
Prime Minister.
And I find that this discussion is disingenuous, unfair, and untruthful. And I will tell you, Jamaica, I am not going to hide from this. If you say If you say that you are for Jamaica and that you agree that we should have a national civil registry, then let us talk as we are doing, but let us talk on the facts of the situation, not on the untruth and what we make up. Let us discuss the facts.
All right.
So this was the reaction of another young man who was not appreciative of how the Prime Minister responded to the first young man who questioned about NIDS.
Okay, good night, everyone. My name is Glendon Martin. I am a student of the University of Technology. And I had a question, but the president had a similar question, so I'll allow him to ask the question. But what I have to say, well, I have a comment, actually. The gentleman that asked the question on NIDS, Mr. Prime Minister, I was taken aback by the way you responded to the question. I felt that you came across too strong, and when I was listening to you, while I was listening to you, I was saying, everybody, should I go and ask this gentleman a question? Will he answer me in the same tone that he answered the young man? And what I want to say and what I want to see in Jamaica or overall with politics is that our politicians behave sometimes, even in parliament, when you see them jumping over, arguing with each other. Our young people are looking at this and they're saying this is something that is right because the politicians, the leaders of our country, this is something that they do. So, Mr. Prime Minister, I would like for you to, first of all, apologize on the way you responded to the question. And secondly, allow me to finish, please. Allow me to finish, please.
So, my darling, hang on 1 second. Sir, hold on, everybody. 1 second. You know, the great thing about youth, hold on, the great thing about youth is that we see no boundaries at all. None at all. I think that you possibly could think hard on your comment and suggestion, really, in terms of the implications. I understand your feeling, but allow the Prime Minister to respond, though, since you have no quiet question. Allow the Prime Minister to respond.
Just one thing I need to add. To
no, you've gone past your 30.
Well, just to what I was saying, that our country is seeing some improvement, and that is something I must commend your government on doing. But we want to see more and more where the young people voice is being heard, and you can listen and sit and talk with us to hear what we have to say.
Thank you so much.
Well, look, let me be frank with you, right? Let me be frank with you. I was a young man too. And that's an excellent strategy that you tried to use a while ago. I commend you. Excellent strategy. But I learned one lesson in my political career. Passion. And when you believe in something, you have to stand for it. And you have to speak with passion. And, you know, I'm sure Thomas knows that it was a very good back and forth response. And you made some points, Thomas, and I made some points. Exactly. And at the end of it, Thomas is going to sit me and say, "Hail, Prime Minister." And I'm going to say, "Hail, Thomas."
Yes.
Yes. Come on now.
That is just how debates go.
Yes.
And, you know, when we are talking and our hands are gesticulating, as long as we remember to be respectful. That the personhood should not be violated, and that the opinions must be respected.
Absolutely.
Right? We agree?
Thank you so much, Prime Minister.
So the Prime Minister has been quick to tell everybody who is willing to listen that he is not the initiator of the National Identification System, and it was not a brainchild of his or the Jamaica Labour Party, but it was first initiated by the now opposition People's National Party, and it has been languishing in the office of the Prime Minister for decades. And he is now seeing the benefits of it, and he has decided to fast track its implementation. So this is what he had to say in relation to that. Since my involvement in the bill developed under my watch, we did not have a requirement for compulsory registration. It is most disingenuous of the opposition to now no longer support a bill which they were eager to fast track when they were in government, and in discussion insist that registration be mandatory. Any concerned Jamaican can simply do an online search to understand the level of hypocrisy displayed by the opposition. This bill was already in the office of the Prime Minister from the days of the previous administration. So this is what he had to say about that.
Mr. Speaker, before I ask for the approval of the amendments, there are two clauses in the bill which seem to have given concern to the public, and which I am compelled to take the time to explain. Clause 20 deals with the enrollment of citizens and provides for the fine of $100,000 if one does not comply. Mr. Speaker, since my involvement in the bill, and the bill that was developed under my watch, we did not have in that bill a requirement for compulsory registration. We started off from a position that we would seek to get the public to comply by virtue of them seeing the benefits of the bill. It was in discussions with a select team from the opposition that the opposition insisted that it be mandatory. And Mr. Speaker, the hypocrisy that I have had to listen to. But you know, Mr. Speaker, my mother always tells me, hold your tongue. Hold your tongue. Because you know, Mr. Speaker, again the falsehood about this bill not having the benefit of public discourse. In 2000, the then government, which is the opposition now, took a bill to Parliament, carried it to a joint select committee, and in that bill, Mr. Speaker, they had a clause for it to be mandatory. And guess what the fine was? $100,000 at that time. Now, if you brought $100,000 and added interest to it, inflation and everything to bring it up to current dollars, it would be a significant amount of penalty. So it is very disingenuous for the opposition to now come and try to claim a ground that they themselves rejected. Mr. Speaker, all that any concerned Jamaican has to do is just go on the internet, or if you store newspapers, go back, and you will see that the opposition, the then government, supported the bill, said how necessary it was, no less a person than the former Prime Minister. The bill, the National Identification System, I did not bring that into the office of the Prime Minister. It was already in the office of the Prime Minister from the opposition. When you look at the reports from JIS and the statements of urgency and importance for the bill to be done, Mr. Speaker, it is disingenuous, because it was always the intention of that government there.
Hello brothers and sisters, I hope you're all doing fine from wherever you're watching me from. Now I'm sharing this video from Jamaica. It is not that recent, but it actually speaks of whatever has been happening in most of the countries. And it is dated 3 years back, 3 to 4 years back. But the events of this meeting are really very relevant up to date, because you can see how furious these students are. Now, this actually happened. Let me give you the background and how this came to happen. This happened, the Prime Minister did want to have a discussion about the things that are ongoing, and they wanted to have some kind of policies on ICT and all those stuff. So they invited students who are doing ICT, and they wanted their views on some certain matters. But it turned out that the youth of Jamaica are very upset with the government, that they have real concerns about the things that are happening in Jamaica. Now, the Prime Minister Andrew Holness and his party and the whole organizing committee were into a shocker after these vibrant youths now went ahead, defied the odds, and started speaking about the oppressions, speaking about the corruption in the government, the high unemployment rate in the government. Now, how the government has failed to be accountable to the taxes that they pay, the high crime rate, and so many other things. Now, this did not sit well with the Prime Minister. You can see from the body language and when he took the mic and how he was speaking, because he was very upset, and he's speaking about some respect that these kids should have given him some respect. Now, let's be sincere, honest here, brothers and sisters. Respect is something that is gained, is earned. You can actually not demand to be respected. And most of our politicians have actually been demanding to be respected, and they have always used the systems to oppress those that do not respect their regimes or respecting them. Now, you can see the youths are really raising some good things. They are really talking about the reality that is happening in Jamaica. Now, however much this video may be dated some 3-4 years back, but you can see they talk about the high crime rate, the corruption, the unemployment, high taxes, unaccountable government, and all these things still happen in Jamaica. Now, however much Jamaicans might still want to play low about this topic, the fact is that most Caribbean countries, most African countries operate the same way they were left with the oppressor or with colonizers, that the colonizers left a lot of corruption. These governments still run these corruptions. They loot everything that is meant for the public use. Now, there was a corruption case that was being associated with the Prime Minister of Jamaica. I do not know how it went, but it is very sad for a head of state to be associated with crimes or associated with things that concerns corruption and looting of public resources. It is not new, because this is whatever has been happening in Africa and in the Caribbean, that someone comes in power and lives as a billionaire, lives as a millionaire. He came with nothing, lives with everything. And the fact that our governments have never taken steps. Everyone who is elected behaves the same way as the predecessor. So there is need for us to discuss these matters that affect our own countries. I'm very, very glad that the youth of Africa, the youth in the Caribbean are talking about real changes. They are talking about ending corruption. They are talking about some things that will actually make their countries better. If we are in a position to end corruption and solve the high unemployment rate. Now, before we talk the high unemployment rate in Jamaica and in Africa and in the whole Caribbean, you must remember Jamaica has the highest brain drain in the Caribbean. Now, most educated Jamaicans are not living in Jamaica. As a matter of fact, 2 million Jamaicans live outside their country, more than the ones that live in their country. 2 to 3 million. It's the highest number I've ever seen of a country that the highest number of the population of that country lives outside. Now, this must actually be addressed, that we've seen raising of high taxes in Jamaica. We've seen people being elected in Jamaica while having nothing, but they leave when they're millionaires. We've seen corruption, even at the highest level, at the highest office of the country, that the Prime Minister is being associated with corruption. And they say if something is being talked about and it has not yet happened, it is happening. Now, if the Prime Minister has been called for corruption cases 3 times, and he has been inducted and he has had court cases, and he say they are politically motivated, but we know these things are happening, and we are not that dumb to be to be told that they are politically motivated. Now go to the Caribbean, come to Africa. Every politician is corrupt. Almost all politicians are corrupt. They come to power with nothing. They live with guzzlers and every other big things with big companies, because every government tenders are directed to their brothers or sisters companies and all that stuff. Let me not talk about that. Talk about the high taxes that the youth are complaining about. High taxes in Jamaica and mostly in the Caribbean, that the government is taxing them high, but the services are low. The brain drain that is taking place in Jamaica is as a result of unemployment and low wages. People work for long hours and receive absolutely low payments. So if someone is a qualified doctor, they will run to Canada, they will run to the US, UK, and Germany. That's where the biggest population of Jamaica live. Now, if Jamaica is experiencing the highest, let's say, the highest brain drain in the Caribbean. Now, what has the government done to make sure that the educated people in Jamaica do not leave their country to go and look for jobs in other countries, that they stay in the island and make sure that the island works? How do you cry that you do not have enough doctors while Jamaicans are learned and are doctors and nurses in the US, Canada, Mexico, and UK and Germany? How do you cry that you do not have teachers while other countries have your population as their teachers? So there is need for us. How do you call the Chinese to come and build roads as engineers while you have engineers who have run away from the country because of the high corruption, high unemployment rates, and high taxes and low wages? So there is need, however much the Prime Minister of Jamaica is trying. I know he might be trying, but he should try harder, because he was elected to solve these problems. He was not elected to inherit and leave the problems for the next coming person. So there is need for us all to talk about things that are happening, and I'm so proud of the youths are now confronting the truth. We must confront puppet leadership in our countries. We must confront corruption. We must talk about the high unemployment rates. We must talk about the high taxes in our countries, and we must talk about the high crime rates. Now, in Jamaica, in the recent days, Jamaica has been receiving high crime rates. I know most of you do not want to hear about this, but it is good that I'm talking about it. And I'm in another country, they won't come after me. So there is high unemployment rates, and the youths are having weapons. And you ask yourself, how do the youths get weapons? And you saw the other day the Prime Minister was blaming other people who are sponsoring crimes and chaos. If he knows them, then why don't you go for them? You are the Prime Minister. And the first thing a government does is to protect the rights, the wealth, and of its citizens. You protect the lives of your citizens. So if the government fails, so there is need for the Prime Minister maybe to be recalled or to be sacked. So there is need for Jamaicans to take the mantle, address things that are happening in your country, and make sure your government is working for you. I'm very proud of this young leadership, or young people who are confronting the truth. Our countries will only work if we say the truth. If you're coming here to talk about this video just because I say the truth, then you are the problem in your country. Let's address the truth. Let's talk about the problems that are facing our own countries. People might People are dying due to high crime rates. People are dying because of hunger. People are dying because of corruption. That the money that was to be taken to hospitals is being misused by some politicians. High taxes and low and bad government services and accountability, all these things must be addressed. So if you are having a problem with the video, you are the real problem in your country. Thank you so much for having taken the time to watch this video. I appreciate so much. If it's your first time on this channel, please consider subscribing, sharing, commenting, and liking the video. Thank you, brothers and sisters. Have a nice day.